Saturday morning, he's got a very special singing guest joining him. How's that for increasing your well-being? Having a little bit of a sing-song. That's what I've been getting up to over the last couple of, months, actually. I might even mention that because it's Healthy Minds, Better Lives. It's just gone 9 o'clock on Thursday, the 10th of April. Yes, even though it's only the 10th, it's the second Thursday of the month already. Hayley and Tammy, how did that happen?
I know, just blinked, and we're back again.
I love it. How are you, Tammy?
I'm really good. The sun is shining, hence the sparkle yellow light clothes today. Yeah, just really good, actually.
Oh, we like that. We like that a lot. And a very good morning to you, Hayley. Good morning. Good evening to you, Hayley.
It does feel like morning, but yeah, no, how are you all? I'm really good. Yeah, I'm loving the sunshine, as I always do. It changes a lot when the clocks go forwards, isn't it?
It does. And of course, that happened halfway through our last show and this show happening. It got to Mother's Day. And how did we reward the mothers? By taking an hour off them.
How rude.
Did you appreciate that when you were waking up?
No.
No. But the clock's changing. Like I'm a sucker for a sunset, and it means that the sunsets have been pushed that much later. And even coming in to the studio this evening, with it being gone 9 o'clock now, it was still holding on to lightness, and that feels wonderful. Hayley, we often talk about the sad seasonal affective disorder going into the winter when the clocks go back. But there's something, for me, something quite glorious about them changing and springing forward.
Yeah, and I think seeing the signs of spring as well, like the green and the flowers and all that kind of stuff. That I think that it helps, doesn't it, with your well-being and stuff. I've literally half an hour ago come in from football, and it was freezing out. It was the sun had gone completely, but it was still light, and I think that makes a difference. Like even if it's cold, it's light and dry. Always makes a huge difference to me.
Oh, same here. Tammy, which camp are you in?
Oh, I love the early mornings. I love the light. But it's I just want it to warm up just a little bit. I'm a bit selfish. I do want it to warm up because I just don't know what to wear. And I did see something that made me laugh where it said, you know, here in the UK, 7 a.m. we are de-icing the car. Midday we're sunbathing, and then 7 p.m. We are putting the heating on. So I just needed to just to balance out a bit. But saying that, it's lovely, and when you see people and there's people have got smiles on their faces, more smiles. It's just uplifting.
Yeah. No, it for me, that's how I feel as well. But of course, the topic that we have talked about, we're not going to talk about it tonight in any detail. But of course, some people find a lot of undue pressure to feel all this light and airy, and look how wonderful it is, because it usually means that there's more to have to go to. You have to engage more, and actually, you might just want to keep with your own pattern, even though it's nice and sunny outside. Tammy, what's your advice to those that might be feeling that in this new springtime?
That we it's okay not to kind of go with other people. There is so much pressure on just perhaps looking forward to summer and just getting kind of like beach ready. We don't have to compare ourselves. We do what's right for us. We just focus on ourselves as opposed to what our friends are doing, our neighbours doing, our family members doing.
Yeah, you be you, babes.
Yeah.
Hayley, that does kind of tie in to the first thing that we're going to be talking about this evening. April is Stress Awareness Month, a whole month to be aware of stress. I'm sure that there's some people that might already be aware.
I'm sure there is. You know my feeling on awareness raising days, let alone an awareness month. Although I do think we do need a reminder to look after ourselves. So even if you take this as a reminder to look after yourself and to kind of be aware of your stress levels, then that's a good thing, right? I just think maybe a month is different, but I think what I want for people to do is to be aware constantly. And be aware of how, life is tough at the minute for lots and lots of people. Life is easy for lots of people as well. But being aware of what triggers you, what causes stress, I think can only be a good thing.
Yeah.
It's those conversations, isn't it? Anything that just starts that conversation. As much as we don't need those, awareness days or campaigns. It's lovely to have that month for stress awareness. It's that powerful call to action. Everyone coming together just to recognise it. But like you say, Hayley, we should be mindful of stress and anxiety throughout the year.
Mm-hmm. It is one of those things, though, we can find ourselves in a stressful situation, which is very obvious. So, what's a prime example of this? You're driving in your car and there's like mega traffic going on, you're being cut up left, right, and centre. That's very much a situational form of stress. It's like, and then your body kicks in, your adrenaline kicks in, you're like, no, I am going to fend myself off from all of this bumper cars that's going on. And then you get on with your journey, you're safe and sound, that's great. However, in today's day and age and technology and expectation of work and work-life balance, it can be a little bit of a slow creep as well, can't it, Tammy?
Yeah, it can build up. It can be a gradual process. We might not actually realise it happening until all of a sudden we are just overwhelmed, and those little frustrations where we haven't really paid attention to in the past. Suddenly the slightest thing can actually send us into an emotional kind of like frenzy. But again, it's about recognizing that it's a gradual process. And I really want to just have a quick touch on the fact that we all have something called a stress bucket. It's a virtual organ. You can't be scanned for it. It doesn't really exist. But you can go online, and some people have taken the time to actually design quite artistically what our stress buckets are. But playfulness aside, we put everything into our stress bucket on a day-to-day basis. So whether that's relationship issues, work issues, bereavement, it all goes in. And if we don't find a way of putting a hole in the stress bucket, our stress buckets, just to empty it, then it just builds up and builds up until it overflows. And when it overflows, that's where we find ourselves just losing control. So we're not rational, that we're not logical, and we're very much the opposite.
If you're listening to this and in this little introduction, you think, oh, well, I think I'm feeling that, or here's how I manage my stress, we would love to hear from you. Good evening to Rachel. She's just joined us over on Instagram. Ruby's with us on YouTube along with Aidan. You can WhatsApp 01437 764455. That's 01437 764455. Good evening to Louise. You can also use the PWR app, and you can message us direct here to the studio. And if you email or use the PWR app and you want to remain anonymous, then of course we can do that. If you do it on the social media, then you're broadcasting that to everyone. The email address is studio@purestradio.com, and we're going to be keeping tabs on that. We're going to start off talking of stress, as you have been listening, but also later on we're going to be joined by Cerys from the YFC Show, which is on this Sunday, to get a mental well-being perspective from the younger generation, and maybe have some tips as to how you might want to talk to your children or grandchildren, making sure that they are being nurtured and fulfilled in today's modern era. Tammy's just been telling us about the stress bucket. If I remember later on, I'll tell you about a little test that I did to do a stress bucket and mark it, and different markers and scores. It wasn't very pretty back then. But Hayley, what's your what is your perspective on stress and what you do to help manage it?
So I'm quite good with stress levels, but I don't know whether I break it up, because I often, like as part of a coaching I'm having with my lifestyle, they often ask about stress, and I don't often feel stressed as such, but I might feel angry, frustrated. So I don't know whether I just break it down. So I don't know. But do you know, many years ago, I was working for a domestic violence charity, and we had a lecturer come in from Swansea University, and she was trying to do like introduce an access to a university course, and it was about stress. And at the time, I was extremely stressed. And she put up on the board a heart with what's the stuff called? like a build-up in the tubes of the heart, as you would think cholesterol and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It was stress related. And that gave me a huge wake-up call as to how impactful physically stress can be when we are not looking after ourselves and when we are allowing stress to be, a long-term thing. That was a huge wake-up call for me, because the children were young and, it's quite some time ago. And I've never forgotten that.
Mm.
And I won't forget it, because I can remember, people talking about the build-up through food and things like that, but never through stress. So I think we need to be mindful on all sort of layers with stress, not just the emotional and the mental, but the physical as well.
Do you know, it's interesting you say that. I've seen an increase in clients who have skin disorders, so eczema, cirrhosis, and that is down psoriasis, sorry, and that's all down to how stress manifests or is manifesting itself on their bodies, even down to IBS. So again, we are in the business of thinking that stress is very much, it affects mental health. It's emotional well-being. But like you say, we need to strip it back, because it has that impact, or can have an impact on our physical well-being.
And I'm glad that you've brought that up, because, and also linking that to what Hayley said, is that you don't think that you get stressed, but you feel anger or frustrated, which could be these symptoms or byproducts of overall stress. Let's not forget that we've got some experience of analysing how we feel, and actually, without prejudice, recognizing, oh, this is me feeling frustrated right now, and I think I'm feeling frustrated because of A, B, and C. But that comes with years of training and years of experience. To the average person that might be listening, that maybe has been fortunate enough to not feel stress, and now they find themselves feeling, I'm going to use discombobulated, because they're not feeling themselves anymore. All of a sudden, it's, well, what's wrong with me? Because they haven't had the opportunity to explore their emotions and their reactions and how they fit in this world in the same way that those that provide advice and guidance on a daily basis do. Tammy, if you're someone that's feeling a little bit discombobulated and a little bit unfamiliar with yourself at the moment, what can we do if we're feeling completely out of control?
Have a conversation, talk to someone. The first, to actually even recognize that there is a problem is a massive first step. To actually just to actually see it, and to actually recognize the fact that perhaps you are struggling, perhaps you are off balance, out kilter, and then to actually then maybe just to actually think about what parts of your lives we are feeling pressured in. But we don't have to do it alone. We can just talk to a loved one. We can talk to friends. We can actually talk to organisations, services. But for me, the starting point is to recognise that there is something that's out of the norm for you.
Mm-hmm. If we're feeling out of the norm, and then all of a sudden we need to talk to someone about it, there's that fear of being judged. There's that fear of being vulnerable. Hayley, how would you assess someone that might be feeling that?
I think we're not very good in society. We're very good in society at telling people what they should be doing, but we're not very good in society in welcoming those same things. So, for example, speaking to people about being stressed. A lot of people don't want to hear it. I know that's not what we'd like to think that everybody would listen. Unfortunately, they don't. So I think the being able to self-assess, so how am I feeling? Who do I trust to be able to go to speak to about this? And I think that part of the self-assessment is, okay, so what's going on for me, in my life? How is it making me feel? How am I acting as a result? What's the outcome? And then we start to go, okay, so what do I need to do about it? And totally understanding what the actions are to take. But I do think there's a huge issue in society of us telling people you should be reaching out and to do this. But are we as open to that as we think we are?
Yeah, I agree with that. And also that, sometimes there's that kind of like idea there's a magic wand that can be waved, and all of a sudden we can get back on track just instantly overnight. And it's really important to remember that it takes us such a long time to get to where we are in terms of our stress levels, being anxious, that it's not going to just go. There's not like a button that we press and it just disappears. We have to work at it as well.
Yeah. Particularly if the routine that you were in, or maybe the workplace or the family matters, some stresses are very much external that we've gathered onto. And if you're trying to live in this perfect stress-free world, the reality is a lot of these stresses weren't your creation in the first place. And now you need to be more aware of it, carry it around with you, knowing that the only thing that can really change is your response to something, when actually your body's screaming out to, why can't it just be different? Hayley, changing the unchangeable or someone else's opinion is easier said than done.
It is easier said than done, but I do, awareness is that always the first step, isn't it? Recognizing that this is an issue. But there are people who have lived with stress all their life, and then when things aren't stressful, they have no idea what to do about it. It feels uncomfortable. It feels strange. And all of a sudden, they're looking for things to stress them out because they're not used to that calm and that peace.
Funny enough, I was talking to someone just the other day, and I was like, everything's too calm for you at the moment, and you need chaos. And they do need that element of chaos because it keeps them on a track. It means like, oh, that needs fixing. That's their personality. I'm the person that fixes. So if there's nothing to fix, they go and create the issue to fix. And I think that there's something to be said about that.
I was just thinking about, I've got colleagues that need a deadline to work to, and they'll leave everything until the last minute. But that's how they work, as opposed to myself, for example. I need that. I need the deadline, but I need to be organized. I need to prepare. I need to give myself time, while others will just literally wait until that, like, the last minute almost, to do what they need to do. So I think it's really, a reminder is that we are all different, and as individuals who are different, we will react differently as well to different circumstances.
Yeah. And that reacting differently, I'm going to bring us back to the analogy of the stress bucket and the physical element of the heart there. We are all different. We all need to visualize what is it that's making us feel different in the way that makes most sense to us. And Tammy, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you remember some of those elements that were going into the stress bucket that you shared the other day?
Yes, I do. So in my taps going into the stress bucket, they were relationships, they were work, they were responsibilities, family, grief. And they were just all going in, and that's not an exhaustive list. We all have our own kind of like personal things that we can put into our stress bucket. But unless we are actually putting that hole in the stress bucket, which is through things like self-care, for example, looking after yourself, doing the things that you enjoy, your hobbies, whether that's reading, yoga, walking, unless we're kind of like doing a counterbalance to what we're putting in, our stress buckets will naturally overflow. And when they overflow, it can lead to ailments like migraines, for example, things that you don't normally suffer from. So again, it's just to be really mindful about what you're putting in, but more importantly, how we actually help put that hole in it so we can actually drop the stress. Because every negative, I'm going to go on now, sorry, every negative thought that we have, it creates anxiety. And that's things like, looking back in the past retrospectively and saying, oh, why did I could have done that differently. Why did I do that? We create anxiety by future forecasting. I'll never be able to afford that. I'll never be able to go there. And it's really important to remember, and again, I know I'm going off on a tangent here, but our minds can't tell a difference between what's real and what's not real. So simply by rehearsing something in our minds over and over again, thinking of that worst case scenario, is just the same as if we was do it in the real life, in the real world. So even just by thinking about something over and over again, we're creating negative thinking, which is making us anxious, which is going into our stress bucket, and it becomes that vicious circle. I'll stop now.
It's great, honestly. Hayley, that bucket, it needs a hole. It needs relief of these stresses. I remember in a place I used to work, we used to do yoga. There was yoga lunchtimes. I think that was a Tuesday. Office choir was on a Wednesday, so we used to do the office choir. You'd go for a walk every lunchtime with 3 or 4 of us and have a little walk around the block where we used to work. And I remember back in school, in fact, we're going to go back and look at the youth with Cerys from the YFC Show very shortly. Basketball on a Friday. These were all elements that I recognised very early on, that these are important for me to manage what it is that I'm kind of carrying at the moment. Hayley, what are some of your examples?
I think the biggest thing for me is writing. It's not necessarily journaling, but writing with focus. So it can be about anything, but whether it's the offloading, whether it's making sense of something, I'm very much, I need to understand something. So I'm usually making sense of something. So writing in different ways, using the tools that I've got. There's a couple of tools when it comes to beliefs, particularly. If anybody's read Byron Katie's 4 questions, they are really good for beliefs. If you have beliefs around, like Tammy was saying, I don't know, let's think, I'm no good at this, or I'm never going to achieve that. Those 4 questions will help you really dig deep with them. It's a really good tool, and it gives you a way of flipping your script and flipping the things that you are telling yourself, those beliefs. It's a fantastic one, and I've used that a lot recently. One of the things we don't do is be honest with ourselves. We don't sit down and go, I am feeling exhausted, or I am feeling stressed, or whatever it is. We just try and keep going. So where you can, find ways of reflecting on, okay, so what is going on for me? Do I need to keep going? Why am I desperate to keep going? Because I think that's a big thing. And then figuring out the right thing for you. And there is no right or wrong. I love driving. So I'd go driving in the car anywhere. We go with the kids, and I'll say to the kids, left or right. We usually end up in Bethlehem. I don't know whether that's a religious thing, but I usually end up in Bethlehem, no matter which way we go. But there's things like that people don't think about. If you love driving, if you love getting out in nature, I came across a course. I've just done a Reiki level 1 course online. That's been quite interesting. There's forest bathing. I mean, you can do a course for about $5,000, but you can actually go and do forest bathing locally. You live in a beautiful place. Go to the beach. Do the things that, at least, even if you're not feeling the passion and the excitement and the joy, do the things that make you feel a sense of relief for a little while.
I love that. Find that sense of relief. Put your stress into context as to the other thing, the other factors that are going on in your life. Have a look at your bucket, see what's overflowing it, see if there's a conversation that could be had, see if there's a change of mindset that you could look at. There's lots of different ways that we can manage our individual stresses. I feel like there's still so much more that we could dig into with this. However, Cerys is standing by, but if there's a question or there's a point of stress that you think that we haven't covered, or you're thinking, well, my situation feels a bit unique, I want to be able to ask you for your opinion on this, then please do. You can WhatsApp on 01437 764455. You can send us an email to studio@purewestradio.com. You can drop us a message on the PWR app. or you can find us on the social medias, on the messengers. If you want to remain anonymous, don't publicly comment, but you can put it on the email or on the message. And talking to the PWR app, Aidan's been in touch. And in fact, we're going to be looking at a younger person's health. Aidan is a younger person, and he wants some Avicii this evening. So we're going to have Hey Brother, because I feel that it kind of ties in nicely with the whole being there for someone, which could be what you need if you're feeling stress. Pluck up the bravery and say to someone, you know what, I'm not feeling myself at the minute, and I need some help to find out why. And you never know, that might be all you need. One of the projects I worked in, working around Wales, was men affected by cancer, and they're like, my life has just completely been taken over. And then after a cup of tea or coffee and a little 15, 20, 30 minute, maybe an hour chat, listening to other people share their stories, they're like, oh, I feel so much better now. Just by talking and listening, it could be everything that you need. So go on, be brave, be bold, and have a little conversation. When we come back, our conversation continues with Cerys. Don't go anywhere. We've got Hey Brother from Avicii. It's not long gone, 9:30, and it's Healthy Minds, Better Lives.